As I dive deeper into the vast world of delicious donuts, Voodoo Doughnut is a no-brainer, and in this video, I'm breaking down everything in their Voodoo Dozen, including an exclusive donut only available at certain locations. I'll tell you now, things range from boring and common to downright wacky. Come along and let's embark on this sweet and excessive experience together. Voodoo Doughnut's, born in Portland, Oregon in 2003, is not your average donut shop. Founded by Kenneth Cat Daddy Pogson and Richard Trave Shannon, Voodoo Doughnut's quickly gained a cult following, and that's because of its wildly creative and irreverent donut creations. Their motto was think outside the box, way outside the box. They're famous for concoctions like the maple bacon bar, the Voodoo Doll, and other donuts adorned with breakfast cereals and candies and other things like that. Voodoo Doughnut is known for its quirky atmosphere, their iconic pink boxes, and just a general sense of fun. And you know I love fun. They've expanded well beyond Portland, so if you're looking for a donut that's an experience in and of itself, Voodoo Doughnut is a must-try. We were in Universal Studios Orlando, Florida, on a birthday mission for our son, a Pokemon birthday mission for our son. And for him, if there's one thing on his birthday that is not negotiable, it's the fact that there's donuts for breakfast. Conveniently, inside of the Universal City Walk at Universal Studios in Orlando, you don't need tickets to get into that side of the park. And there's also other dining and shopping, and luckily Voodoo Doughnut has a nice big presence there, so it was kind of a no-brainer we had to stop for all of those things. But when we got to Voodoo Doughnut, we were seriously overwhelmed by the line and also by the seemingly endless options of donuts that they had there. So we had to come up with a plan, and kind of quickly. Luckily, there were two options that were kind of on the table for us. One was the classic dozen and the other was the Voodoo Dozen. Between those two, the Voodoo Dozen just seemed like the obvious choice. We have to get some pink elephants in the room out of the way right now because it actually does help to set up some of the silly donuts that we're going to talk about in this video. I mean, the place is literally decorated pink. And there's kind of nods to Mardi Gras and like magic, kind of like the fun side of black magic, if that's a thing. But one of their prominent catchphrases, which I'm honestly really not a fan of, and I can understand if you're not either, the magic is in the hole. I feel dirty just saying it. The reason I'm pointing it out though, has nothing to do with how gross of a catchphrase it is. You be the judge of that. But in the Voodoo Dozen, a lot of the donuts that we really liked actually didn't even have holes. So that's the irony, go figure. So here is the Voodoo Dozen. And we have a lot of ground to cover here, 13 donuts. So just to quickly lay out how I'm doing this, just to make it easy, I'm gonna give a whole number score from 1 to 10, with 1 being absolutely downright awful, and 10 being the ones that you need to try. And at the end, I'll wrap up with the top 3 donuts from the Voodoo Dozen. Tasting 13 donuts is no small feat. I've obviously been training my entire life for this. I gotta say the first 4 went down pretty easy, and no 2 were alike. I started with the Maple Bacon Bar, one of the originals that kicked off Voodoo Doughnut and has won awards for being America's favorite donut. A yeast-raised bar with maple frosting and bacon. Now look, I obviously love bacon, can't get enough of it, but I'm not exactly rushing like everybody else to put it all over my sweet treats. That said, Voodoo Doughnut does do it in a way that the bacon stays a little bit crispy and doesn't leave your mouth with a cold bacon film. You know what I'm talking about. Plus, maple glaze on a yeasted donut is brilliant, 7 out of 10. But I wanted to get some chocolate into the mix next, so I went with the chocolate coconut donut. A rich devil's food cake donut with chocolate frosting and coconut flakes. This is decadent and obviously sweet, but also on the dry side. I find that's actually common for cake donuts with chocolate in them. I think the cocoa powder just dries it out. This wasn't bad, 5 out of 10, but I'm sure there's definitely much better stuff in that Voodoo Dozen for sure. Just like this heavy hitter, the Universal Orange Sickle. Now this one is only available at Universal Studios, just like the one that we checked out in Orlando. This is an impressively large yeast-style bar donut. The donut itself is nice and airy, but once they fill it with that generous amount of vanilla custard, then top it with that orange frosting, and then jam the stick inside, it becomes super heavy. Like you can't even really lift this thing without like 2 hands. Flavor-wise, it really does taste like a room temperature orange creamsicle ice cream bar, if that makes any sense at all. Think like Boston cream with orange flavor instead of chocolate. 9 out of 10, this one's spectacular. And then just as we get some momentum with the scores here, my family hands me the homer. A yeast-raised ring with strawberry frosting and round sprinkles. I gotta tell you, this is probably the most boring donut in the box. Even though it looks like that donut emoji that everybody uses all over the world, and it's kind of your quintessential kind of like electronic depiction of a donut. Plain yeast donut, the frosting barely tastes like strawberry, and the sprinkles they use barely even add any texture. 4 out of 10. Trying 4 donuts back to back like that is pretty jarring. But for the 5th one, I wanted to take my time with it for something that I knew was absolutely going to be a massive hit. So the one I picked at this point was Portland Cream. Described as a raised shell filled with Bavarian cream and topped with chocolate and decorated with a set of eyes. Basically, a Boston cream donut. but it's definitely heavier than anything you'll find at any other donut chain. Super delicious. Maybe I'm biased because Boston cream donuts are my favorite donuts on the planet, so we're gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Very messy and very tasty. So now that we got that one out of the way, I wanted to get really nuts and try something that I knew not a lot of people see anywhere else. I've never seen it. Grape ape. It's weird, really weird. They basically dropped a packet of grape Kool-Aid onto a glazed donut with vanilla frosting and then added some sprinkles for crunch. Now, I love fake grape drinks like anyone, who doesn't? But maybe there's a reason that hasn't been added to a donut before. Wink, wink. 5 out of 10. The flavor here is more gimmick than natural fit. Now that I'm just about halfway through, with about 7 donuts left, I figured I'd power through a bunch before getting to the big one that I was really most looking forward to. So it's time for dirt. Just dirt. A raised ring with vanilla frosting and chocolate cream filled cookies. This is playing off like the worms and dirt dessert, but just the dirt part. Basically like a bunch of crumbled up Oreos fell on top of a vanilla glazed donut. It's a flavor combo that does work together, but as this donut sits around, and this is true of anything that has kind of something crunchy on top, the cookies get soft from absorbing a lot of the moisture from the icing and from the actual donut itself. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but 7 out of 10 as far as the flavors go. Next, raised glazed. This is the classic. It's the canvas that many of the Voodoo Donuts is built upon. Not a whole lot to comment on here taste-wise, but it is impressively large. 7 out of 10 out of basic principle. You can't rate this one anything lower than average. And we're up to Oh Captain, My Captain, where they dropped a box of Captain Crunch with crunch berries on top of a glazed donut. And I think there's vanilla in the glaze, who knows. The good news is, because of what I told you about things on top getting soft and soggy, the cereal won't scrape the top of your mouth as you eat this. But flavor-wise, I do feel like the unique flavor of that Captain Crunch cereal with the crunch berries does add to the flavor of the donut. At least that fragrance from the crunch berries. 8 out of 10, solid. Now here's a fun name, Marshall Mathers, also known as M&M. And you guessed it, mini M&Ms fell on a vanilla glazed donut. This time though it was a cake donut with that vanilla frosting on top. Just like the chocolate cake donut, this one was a little bit dry. I feel like anything that was a cake donut in this visit kind of suffered from that. But in terms of those crunchy M&Ms working with that crumbly donut, I think it does. But it's not terribly memorable or outstanding aside from the name. 7 out of 10. Blueberry cake is up next, and out of the 13 donuts in that Voodoo dozen, this one was the one I was looking forward to the least. I'm just not a fan of that like artificial blueberry flavor, you know? I do like blueberry donuts, I guess, but I feel like any other donut here would have been more noteworthy. This one, it was a cake donut, a little dry, a little disappointing, so 4 out of 10 for me, moving on. This one I thought was fun. I mean, how could you not? Sprinkle cake? Just call it funfetti, you cowards. Plain cake donut with vanilla frosting and colorful sprinkles. This one's more visually impressive than anything, but there are so many sprinkles that it adds like this weird crunchy texture to the cake donut. 7 out of 10, not bad, but you can skip it. There's definitely better stuff in the box. And now the big moment was here. Time to try that visually impressive Voodoo Doll. A raised yeast donut stuffed with raspberry jelly smothered in chocolate frosting with a pretzel steak jammed right in. I gotta tell you, as soon as I picked this one up, I was definitely impressed. It's gotta weigh about a pound with all that jelly and chocolate, and it's a messy mother. It tastes incredible altogether. A perfect 10 out of 10. The pretzel doesn't add much to the flavor though, but again, the visual of this donut is what's gonna stick with you. You're not gonna see a donut with a pretzel jammed through its heart ever again. I really did save the best for last. Speaking of the best, here are the top 3 donuts in the Voodoo dozen at Voodoo Doughnut. In third place, the Universal Studios exclusive orange sickle donut, packed with vanilla custard and topped with orange frosting and decorations. In second place, Portland cream, because no matter where it comes from, you can count on Boston cream donuts always being top tier. And taking home the award for best donut in the Voodoo dozen is the Voodoo Doll. This one has a special shape and everything, is totally stuffed with raspberries, slathered with fudge, and decorated including a stake through its heart. Fun stuff, we did it. We satisfied the big guy on his birthday donut demands. And we made it through all 13 donuts in the Voodoo dozen. Like the video if you had fun, subscribe, and check out one of the videos on your screen right now if you're into donuts or enjoy amazing food.